From Boston University's Center for Digital Imaging Arts, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And we are here to discuss this week's new release, which is Sex and the City 2. And also to apologize for not being able to follow up last week. because we our scheduling issues.
Well, we posted some interesting stuff.
We did. Yes, we did. We did. We got the George Romero piece that you did.
And we also did the interview with Amber
Benson.
Which
has actually gone over pretty well, traffic-wise.
That movie, before we get too sidetracked, Drones. Who was the female lead?
Oh, my God.
Remember that lady?
Yes. Now, this is where...
This is my favorite part of the show.
We're doing the show while not sitting in front of a computer.
Luckily our producer has a laptop.
Paul pulls out the laptop.
And but I just saw her in another movie.
Now let's see if we can think of the name before Paul draws it up.
It won't happen. He's a better typer than I am a speaker. Make those noises.
She was in the movie May.
These are our thinking noises. Oh
my God!
And you can hear Paul typing in the background.
Can't think of her name.
This is where video would come in handy.
She's kind of like the indie horror queen.
Indie horror?
The indie horror queen.
Indie horror. No, the only reason I bring it up is I actually have a movie to recommend that just came out on DVD that she's in.
What?
And Angela Bettis?
Yes.
Yes, and so what was the movie? All my family have been... He's got her on IMDb. All my friends have been...
All my friends are funeral singers.
All my friends are funeral singers is a great movie. It's just out on DVD. It's that lady, again...
Angela Bettis.
Angela Bettis. She plays a spiritual medium. And that's the thing. I didn't know it was her until I was doing a review of it today.
I got to meet her a couple of years ago. She was in town for the Underground Fest. This must have been like 3 years ago. I don't know. I think maybe it was May.
She's a spiritual medium who lives in an old house where all the spirits who help her live in the house with her. And they're all like walking around. And they find the spirits come to the conclusion that she's keeping them prisoner because they can't go outside into the light.
Huh.
And it's really offbeat. She's really good. Great story. And it has music by this band called Caliphone. They're dead too. They're the band, the house band. It's this group of spirits who play these really
So this is direct to video, or
I guess so. I don't think it didn't play around here.
Wow.
And it just came out on DVD this week, and it's really cool.
She has a gaunt look about her that works for these films.
Yeah. And again, I didn't recognize her at all until I read the credits. So we're a little sidetracked, but I think people should go look for that. And Drones when it comes out. And
hopefully
then, of course, listen
release.
to our interview with Amber.
Yeah, that was fun. I hope we can do more of those types of things. I have one regret, though. I should have taken a picture because I was looking everywhere trying to get a photo that I could use for the post. And I know it sounds completely absurd, but actually photos are pretty important. So what this taught me is next time we do an interview, like we interviewed the director of Splice, is to be sure to get a photo.
Right.
I mean, it just so... Or George Romero, it just so personalizes the post as the...
We've got one.
So I posted it online, and it's to the blog, and it's like the best I could come up with was the film's poster.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take somebody else's photo.
A lesson to all our listeners: bring a camera wherever you go. You might see me on the street. You might be able to capture me.
Get those photos, man. We will in the future. But there's also this sense that while we're doing the interview, to stop and take a photo. I am. When doing roundtable interviews, how journalists will stop and take photos with the talent. I'm really uncomfortable about that.
I'm uncomfortable.
I don't show up to get autographs and take photos. That's not what I'm there for. And
right.
I feel like this is almost like a violation or something like that. But the talent is sometimes cool with it.
I'm more uncomfortable with the, for instance, the Romero interview where the geeks all stood posing next to George and had their picture taken on their cell phone. That's kind of like, okay, boys, I put up with your goofy questions. I'm leaving.
Well, I want to say, I'm jumping in because you're in a situation where I'm assuming that I thought the movie sucked. And so you have to interview the director. I had fun with it, but still, it's still like.
I thought it was kind of lazy. It wasn't as inventive as the last two he's done.
The only good scene in we haven't talked about Survival of the Dead,
which opens this week too.
But it has a great scene with the ferry which I thought was really cool. You know, where she had to swim across the channel to get to the
Ferry.
through all the.
Just trying to think
through all the you know, the dead people in the harbor under the water, reaching for her legs, and you know, and they had to get to the ferry, and then, you know, of course you're on the ferry, all the cars are parked in there, you don't know which one, you know, it's like you've opened up a box of chocolates and you don't know which one has a zombie, you know, with all the cars sitting in the thing.
And they have a little chart. There's a cream center group,
right?
Zombie center.
Which one has the zombie center?
I thought it was, you know, I like his movies anyway, and so I was psyched to see it. It wasn't great, you know. He's done a lot better in the past. I thought Diary of the Dead was a lot better.
Were you in all patronizing as the fan of George Romero?
No. In fact, I was more interested when we did the interview, and you can hear it by listening to the interview. You know, he made a Western, and I thought that was pretty interesting, you know, with the kind of the Hatfields and McCoys, but the two Irish families. And but the best thing about the interview is, I guess for a while now, he's had a script where he wants to do a zombie movie that would be one zombie and one guy, and it would be like a Roadrunner cartoon, where the zombie would be, I guess, Wile E. Coyote, and the live guy would be the Roadrunner. And no one's ever given him the money to do it, and you can kind of understand why. But at the same time, wouldn't you love to see what Romero would do with just, like, you know, cartoon and zombies? But, no, I enjoyed the movie, and I liked talking to the guy. I think he was a real good interview. I just wish it was a one-on-one and not with the other people in the round table who were fawning, you know.
You know, it's not so much that he introduced or really was like he's the godfather of the zombie movie, but he's also the godfather of the humorous zombie kill.
Oh yeah,
you know, from the 70s. That was taking pleasure in having one of these guys' heads splatter.
Well, you know what?
Or amusement, not pleasure.
I remember seeing Night of the Living Dead the first time when it came out in '68. And I was totally floored as an 11-year-old. You know, I was...
Who let you into that movie at 11? That explains so much about you.
No,
when I was a kid, I was afraid to touch the video. I was so scared of the movie.
What happened was, there was an all-day... This is back at the time when the theaters... There were two theaters in my town, and one was 25 cents for a show, and the other was 35 cents for a show. And the place where they did 25 cents for the show, they happened to have an all-day, and we're talking... from morning until late night, horror fest. So they just set, and there was an incredible amount of trash thrown in there. There was something called the Crow, and there was absolutely nothing scary about it except this big ugly guy at the very end, the last frame, and he looks like he's got feathers on him, and that's about it. But this came on, and it was black and white. And you think, oh well, what's the big thrill there? You know, and, you know, you've seen some Vincent Price movies and some Dracula movies. They got color, so you figure you're not even sure if this is an old movie. And it starts off, as it does, so innocuously. You know, even those little teasers, like the radio going out, or...
So you had no preconception?
None whatsoever. And I was 11. And I saw there was a bunch of zombie movies being shown. You know, and I've seen a lot of them too, you know, especially the English zombie movies. And they were just so dull. They were just so, and they were all the same zombies. They all had that slow-paced look, but there was no real danger in zombies up until George Romero. In my opinion, zombies came to life with George Romero.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's what changed everything for zombies. They were always they were never a Dracula, Frankenstein type horror character. They were really a sideshow. And that, you know, that.
So discriminated.
Well, you know, it's funny because
from a cinematic standpoint, that's what it was. Even when you think about the roots with with voodoo and so forth, and all there's a tremendous amount of horror and terror that could be tied into that, but I don't remember seeing much.
No,
back to that.
They didn't have any drive to kill people or eat people. They were just kind of like standing there doing the bidding of the evil voodoo priestess.
Flash forward to 2004, where you've got the high-speed zombies.
Yeah. But, you know, when I told Romero this in the interview, too, is that the first time I heard about that movie was reading an article in Reader's Digest warning parents not to let their 11-year-old sons go see this movie. And Romero was like, yeah, that was written by Roger Ebert. And it was reprinted everywhere and used as a campaign to try to get the MPAA started and, you know, censorship in movies and stuff. And he goes, now look at it, it's tame. But you mentioned... you know, when we talked about making zombies before, and he used to go to the slaughterhouse and get guts from, you know, and keep them in a refrigerator, and then when they were shooting, that's what these would pour out of the, you know, the bodies. And he was telling a story, the end of Day of the Dead, where a guy's ripped in half. Those guts had been on set for a long time, and he goes, the smell was incredible when they, you know, tore the guy open. All these rotted guts fell out, and then now it's all synthetics and computer generated. You know, it's no big deal now. But it's a good interview. He was fun to talk to, and I apologize again for the other.
You're apologizing for the.
We're apologizing for the 3 young boys who were sitting with me, the 3 young fanboys asking the, you know,
college press.
Yeah. Yeah, college and 1 internet.
I tried to get a phone interview with Romero. Actually, after I saw the film in Toronto, I tried to set up an interview, but his secretary never called me back. Or the number that they gave is the contact for, you know,
You should
the film.
call now that you.
I was like, I tried a couple times. I tried calling after I got back to Boston, and I still didn't get it. I left messages too. Still no.
I didn't mention you, so he let me through. That's all I can say.
Damn him.
But anyway, the movie's out. I'm sure it'll be on video pretty soon. I don't think it's going to last more than a week at the Kendall. You know, but the interview lives forever at post-movie.net.
It does.
So anyway,
so Romero moves on to his next.
But speaking of the Walking Dead, let's talk about Sex and the City too.
I thought that would be a good transition.
It is because I've never seen 4 bigger zombies than these women. I'm not, you know.
John, you're being harsh.
Oh, you know, I walked into work. All right, there's 2 young ladies where I work. They were like 21 and 24, and they knew I saw the movie. And they're like, "Well, how was it?" And I go, "It was terrible." And they said, "Well, it's not for you." And I was like, "Yeah, but," and I started to tell Steve, he's like, "No, don't tell me. Don't ruin it." I just thought these were the nastiest women. They were harpies. They just bitched and bitched and bitched about everything. And then they changed their outfits and bitched some more and changed an outfit and bitched some more. They're overprivileged, pampered harpies.
Well, I think it's man, they are hard to live with. Let me tell you that.
They're hard to sit two and a half hours with.
I'm afraid of. There's parts of me that are afraid of Sarah Jessica Parker's Carrie Bradshaw because you don't really know what little thing she's going to latch onto and set her off. And, you know, in terms of like a problem or an issue or anything. And she's kind of...
It could be that her toast isn't done right and she'll go off on a voiceover spree about how, you know, you can't get laid if you don't get good toast.
But, okay, apart from that...
Apart from the 2.5 hours of bitching...
Okay. If you take this movie for what it is, and it's a fantasy, as much as it's, you know, other people would like. I used to say to an old girlfriend that she was too into Melrose Place because I thought that she thought this was reality, and I was like, I used to think like, you think this is actually how people live? And I was wrong to say that. Well, I kind of did that a little for Sex and the City too. There's, you know, what was the audience was like 3% men or something like that at the preview screening.
Maybe.
And so I got to thinking, do they actually think that this is how it is? No, it's not. It's a fantasy. It's just it's an over-the-top fantasy in a way that like Entourage is that these girls throw down big money and they're with people who throw down huge sums of money as if it were nothing. And it's like it's the celebration, it's the party, it's life where money really doesn't matter.
Celebration implies joy. There was no joy in these women for anything except I found no joy in any. They took no pleasure in any of this stuff.
The glamour, her shoes.
They just bitched about it. You know, the sparkle's going for my romance, and my kid won't stop crying, and my job doesn't appreciate me. Oh, which brings me to the point. The best cameo appearance ever in a Sex and the City?
Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Liza.
No, not Liza Minnelli. The asshole lawyer boss of...
Are you talking about the whole series or the movie?
Just the movie. The redhead? Which one's the redhead? Cynthia Nixon, right?
Cynthia Nixon, yes.
Yeah. Whatever her asshole
First
lawyer
boss
is, blue-collar comedian Ron White.
I didn't know.
And I was like, I can't believe Ron
and
White's
her
in this
singular
movie.
issue to judge him to no end is just the fact that he puts his hand up to tell her to stop talking.
I had my hands up.
You know,
I was trying to get the movie to stop.
so that was
That was my favorite part of the movie, bar none.
I can
was-
imagine Ron White would actually be worth making it. You know,
I would have.
involved.
They should have a spin-off of just why of that guy being such a jerk.
John. I'm going to tell you, I actually enjoyed the film. It's not a great film.
Okay.
It's kind of soulless in a way. I think Carrie Bradshaw is shallow. I think she complains about things that just are just so lame. I mean, here she's now in a marriage and she's with a guy who makes a ton of money, and when he comes home, he would like to sit down and relax. And
Yeah.
she's afraid that their marriage, and this is sort of the course of the movie, is going to become sedentary.
Right.
So she fears something, which is basically, you know, she's living the sparkly life, but now, you know, she's got
God
the guy that
forbid
she's
he
always
wants to-
wanted
he
for
wants
something
to
for
sit
10
on the-
years, and he's bought a screen TV for the bedroom, and he wants to just chill when he gets home. And there's an awkward moment in this movie where she's basically just, you know, that any move that Big makes in this scene, she's gonna come down. He's kind of
Right.
like trapped. There's nothing he can do right. So he makes the mistake of buying this TV.
But he doesn't-
He doesn't really do anything wrong.
No, he does it out of a what she sees as a misguided romantic impulse. Is, you know, for their anniversary, they watched It Happened One Night on black and white TV at a wedding they go to, and so he enjoyed that moment so much. For their anniversary, he buys a TV for the bedroom, and then instead of watching black and white, he sits in bed watching Deadliest Catch. And that, you know, that's ruined. But you know, her big, it all starts because he comes home after a hard day. He's a stock market guy, I guess, and the market dropped 100 points, so he's had a shitty day. And he comes home and wants to sit on a couch that we're told repeatedly they waited 1.5 years to get the perfect couch. And now that he's sitting in it, there's a problem when they should be going out to eat every night.
I think as a guy, I had an issue with that because I like to be comfortable when I come home, and she was kind of shallow and misering. The very things
Yeah.
that she would know that are completely wrong, but you know, she's a very costly woman, this Carrie Bradshaw, and the thing that really gets to her heart is the fact that he has to buy her a diamond. I mean, you know, money really talks to her when it shouldn't. And this movie, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. It's all about money. It's about high fashion, expensive fashion. It's about being able to go to glitzy movie premieres. It's being able to have Liza Minnelli deliver your wedding vows and have a big dance sequence afterward
Oh
with
my
everybody
God.
cheering.
That was
You know,
so
it's about
awful.
not just in Charlotte's case. You know, she's having a marriage problem too. You know, where she's having, she believes that her husband could at any moment cheat on her with the Irish nanny.
Right.
Her being at peace is just being at home with the kids and making cupcakes. She makes a cupcakes, and it's like an ocean of pink frosting all over the kitchen with just the most beautiful cupcakes you've ever seen. But her life is kind of falling apart because her children cry so much, and she needs a break.
Well,
You know,
it's
just they have these perfect storybook lives in a way. Storybook, like 4 separate New York lives that are kind of perfect, and yet they complain. We're definitely missing some
it's
stuff
right
here
or
that
wrong.
are.
It's not gender.
These are fun characters. They're very funny people. They're funny when they do have some amusing
no,
moments.
I
and
just want to know if
the
you can
relationships to each
extrapolate,
other, the way
since
they
we
back.
don't have someone, is what is the draw for women if they recognize it's a fantasy, which I assume they would as well.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, where is the attraction in this movie to the proposed market?
I think it's that they look at Carrie Bradshaw the way we kind of look at James Bond. He's suave, sophisticated, you know, has power, glamour, dames, you know, leads an exciting life. She's got all that. And then plus the fact that a lot of the fans over the years grew up with Carrie on HBO. And I've seen the shows I've seen from the series are much more they're funnier, the writing's better, it's wittier, and it's more insightful. I enjoyed watching it as a guy because it was like, really?
Well,
this
it's
is
more,
what happens?
in a way, it's more casual and it's less. There's less baggage, so it doesn't seem like they're everything's riding on the next line. It's in fact, take this movie compared to the first one. There's a lot less baggage to it. They didn't have all the expectations of the first movie, so this
Right.
one they're just kind of like riding it out. And I think it's funnier. I could put up with her. What would you call
I'm not
it?
helping
Just,
you. I'm not helping you.
nagging, her quips. There are some annoying things that happen in this film as far as like some of her opinions. I thought that a few scenes were like, oh yeah, great. The men are just real shitty people, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But still, the movie has these qualities, but yet there's like these redeeming qualities. There's the fun of doing the things they do. There's a carefree nature to it. Samantha is amusing because of her just singular quest for sex and all the things that relate, how everything is. She lives by the sex sword. She dies by the sex sword. She gets, basically an all-expense paid trip to Dubai for her and the girls.
Abu Dhabi? I don't think, well, whatever.
Yeah.
It's to the Middle East.
That is just like it's like a dream. When they arrive in Dubai and the way that just luxury is just paraded in front of them. They have men servants, going from each room to each room in the
They each
hotel.
have their own
It's just
individual limousine.
It's like more food than you can possibly imagine. More room. It's just opulence, insane.
There is insane opulence, but they've done nothing to earn it.
Oh well, I can see that.
And they don't appreciate it. I don't think they expect it. When they don't get it, there's hell to be paid. But especially, here's one of the problems I had with one of the many problems I had. All right, Samantha, she's a high-level PR agent. She gets hired by this sheik to go to the Middle East to see his hotel and
Right.
try
She's
to work
currently
out a
dating a
deal.
guy who's like a big-time movie star. And
Yeah.
they go to, so Carrie, in her complaining to Big about not doing something fancy, he begrudgingly goes with her to a movie premiere, which is all glitz and everything. And there's that moment where, Samantha shows up in this dress that she wanted. And everybody's like, oh, this is the 20-something dress. And she's like, I don't care. I'm 52-year-old,
I'll
2 years
rock
old, and I'm
this
going to
dress.
wear the fuck out of that dress. Turns out Miley Cyrus is wearing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so they have that photo op moment. But it's all glitzy and fun, and everything works out great. And so at the post party, she meets the financier of the film who says he's opening up a new hotel and he wants publicity for it. So come on out. I'll fly you
Right.
out on my private jet, and you.
And again,
right.
it's the opulence we'll never see, at least on my paycheck. I'll never get first-class accommodations on a plane that shuts myself in my own little cubicle, and I won't get my own private limo and all that. So
but John, this does what movies do. It takes people to places they rarely see. So
Right.
So there's that attractiveness to it. There's you are wowed by it.
Okay, so that begs the question then, what is the journey for the viewer? Because it's not enough to go somewhere. You have to end up somewhere.
They needed a vacation from their lives. Apparently, they needed a vacation from the very men that they've spent so long trying to get. Now they need
Right.
a vacation from them.
And their
Each of
children,
them,
and
including
their-
Steve. Steve, who's this great guy. He's
Which one's Steve?
Steve is Miranda's boyfriend.
Okay.
The bar guy who they had a baby with. She begrudgingly realizes that she actually loves him, and I think Steve is a great character. I think Steve and Miranda's relationship is interesting because they have like polar
wants a lot.
opposite sort of attractions.
Yeah.
And then there's Charlotte's relationship with her husband, where she'd converted to Judaism, and they'd made all these concessions to live this perfect life, and they've adopted a couple of children from China, but the children cry so constantly that they need some kind of a break. So Carrie
Right.
needs a break from Big. Miranda needs a break from her husband. They're gone to Dubai.
Right.
Oh, by the way, without discussing it with them, they've just left. It's like
Oh, there's never a scene to say,
we're all
hey,
going to take a week
no.
off, but they don't discuss it with any of the guys.
Right.
So
But here's my problem. They get this is the new Middle East, so they don't have to wear traditional clothing or anything of this. There's a scene in this movie where Samantha is sitting in a restaurant with some guy she met, they were out having at an Oasis.
He
drove
pulled
by.
a total Dow of Steve, which is do something amazing in her presence, in order to
Which one?
wow the girl. So they take these camels out,
Right.
they're doing their Lawrence of Arabia moment, and they're basically, in a tent in the desert, being nearly, just fawned over with
Right.
servants, And this guy comes shooting over the sand dunes in a Jeep,
Kinda like the Rat Patrol.
flying around. Yeah,
But
and
without the gun,
the thing, gets some pretty good air, and it lands in the sand. It's sand everywhere, and he's like hanging on the back of the Jeep like some, rugged Indiana Jones type.
Right.
Thing. And Samantha is just like over the moon.
Right.
And
Suddenly
she's-
she feels something down
Right,
there.
right. She's
Which
like,
she wasn't
they
because
were
her
like,
estrogen
oh my
is worn
God,
out. Yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia.
But anyway, they go to this. They're in this restaurant. Samantha and this guy are in the restaurant, and she starts grabbing his crotch. He comes up. He's got some line like, "Oh, if we were in Paris, I'd be rubbing your nipples," and then she starts grabbing his dick, and a couple
A conservative
at the next.
Middle Eastern.
Any couple.
fella.
That's just it.
All right.
Because
Even
he's
if
a
they were in New
Middle
York, you're
Eastern
saying.
man,
Right.
he gets offended and she gets all huffy. If I was in a restaurant, I looked over and saw some girl grabbing a guy's dick,
No.
I'd complain too.
The Middle Easterners actually don't make out very well,
No.
characteristically in this
No.
film, except for Carrie's manservant, who's like, he's actually not even from, well, he's from India.
Right.
There is a terrific kindness to many of the people, but there's also this underlying sense of like, wow, this could all fall apart. If you offend anybody, if you do something wrong, this could all
Did you
fall apart.
find that
any
at all
moment.
racist?
I felt like, man, in a way. I don't think I'd go as far to say racist, but the point they were trying to make is that this is where women are, under man's thumb. This is discriminating. Women aren't free here. So this is obviously the point they were trying to make, and they set up this thing in a restaurant where,
Right.
they can't be free to express.
Grab the guy's dick.
Yeah, but this would still get a reaction anywhere.
Well, the thing is,
if
if
somebody
they're
was
trying to make
watching
that
this.
point, they don't do it by showing any women from that culture in any kind of light at all. What they do is they show themselves acting like obnoxious, ugly Americans, and then when the conservative Middle Eastern men react, that's how they make their point.
he
It doesn't
was
work.
pointed out as
I'm
being,
offended by their
conservative.
behavior, grabbing this and that.
But also in a movie sense, you got to create drama, and you know that while they're doing this in this place in the Middle East, that there's going to be a much heavier price to pay than if they'd done it in New York. Which is like just maybe it might be appalling there, but it's only going to get a groan. There, it's going to get you in jail, which is the thing here.
But I think that reflects more on the obnoxious behavior of Samantha than anything to do with the culture. They're
Samantha,
visiting.
in a way, she is like a sexual sideshow. She's okay. She's all about sex, but adolescent. She has an allegiance to her girlfriends. She really is a genuinely good person, but sex is the thing that makes everything in her life fly and or fall apart. And here, it makes their vacation fall apart. She's the reason they got there, but she's also the reason that things are going to go completely wrong.
Right.
Whereas Carrie, who ruminates about everything and about these. Signs in her life. She had, I think, a conversation with Charlotte where you have to pay attention to the things that happen. They tell you something. So she runs into Aiden in a market,
Right.
in the middle of like nowhere. He's, the love of her life through like season 3 and 4 or something.
The
I
amount
own
of
these
de-
on DVD.
the-
I have not seen every episode, but I
The
have
amount of
not
detail
seen,
is just surprising
John,
me.
I have seen Sex and the City from season 1 to season 4 and some of season 6. So I know Aiden. I know.
Wow.
Aiden
People,
is
write in. What's the
Aiden
email
is
address?
Dude, man. He is
The guy from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and
Yeah, he is the dude. So he meets her.
Yeah.
They have a
John
surprise
Corbett.
meeting of all the places in the world you can be. Carrie Bradshaw meets Aiden
in a spice market in the Middle East.
something like that. He's selling rugs, and you find out, Yeah, I think the question here is that they decide because they've had such such an improbable meeting that they're going
It's
to
a sign.
they're going to have a sign. And they're going to get together for dinner next night.
Mm-hmm.
So during this dinner, I think one of the viewers starts to wonder: is Aiden sad? Is something's going to happen here? Are they going to collect? Is something going to happen? And something does happen.
I should have watched more of the show, I guess.
Something happens, and now Carrie has to make this right with Big.
No.
You know? She
So-
feels.
I think you-
her conscience. You know, she may not be completely shallow. Her conscience is she's having a very an emotional a conflict here. She wants to just come forward that their lips met, and she's got.
Yeah, I think that's a point to be make is that the something that happens is they kiss, and it's like, but you know, when you say something happens, they didn't go to bed,
she wants to get it off her
You know.
conscience. You know.
which didn't ring true for me at all. I think I just, you know, it seemed the whole thing seemed contrived, let alone finding them in a spice market.
Oh, it gets
But
worse.
that, you know, it well,
You know,
obviously.
it's a funny movie, but then it becomes this. I don't know, just like a cat and mouse running around thing. You know, they got to run to get out of Dubai. Samantha has so insulted the populace that they're actually, you know, they got to get the hell out.
Yeah,
You know,
I identified
So,
with that feeling.
That's it.
Pretty much. You know, I there's no reason. You know, I'm glad you liked it.
I did.
I
I
think-
thought it was very funny. I'm amused by the characters. I can't say it's anything great though.
I think the fans will
At least it
enjoy
didn't have
it.
a moment like they will
You
enjoy
know?
it. At least it didn't have a moment like in the first movie where she was beating the hell out of Big with her flowers in the middle of the street on the way to the wedding.
But
That was a bit over the top.
it did have Liza Minnelli.
It did have
performing
Liza Minnelli.
The Beyonce song "Put a Ring on It" at the,
Yeah,
at
that was,
the gay wedding.
you know, it's just
and it's
so,
funny for a second.
like-
they show the whole video. They show Liza do the whole song,
Yeah.
and it's like no wonder this thing is 2.5 hours long. There's no
It's a
reason to
long
show
movie.
Liza do the whole song.
Yeah.
You know, it was yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like
You
no,
know,
it didn't-
I said to a few days before seeing it, I'd gone to this surprise party, and my friend Amy is a big fan of Sex and the City. And I said to her, like, what is the reason for this movie? Because if you look at the first movie, the resolution is a resolution to everything. I mean, it resolved everything. What kind of conflict? What is going on with this next movie? What needs to be resolved? And she said, it's not about resolving anything. It's just about more.
It's about box office too. It made a tremendous amount of money, and I do want to tell listeners, you can, if you haven't seen the first movie, you can get it on Blu-ray for $3.99 at Newbury Comics. It's quite a bargain, even if you don't have a Blu-ray
I
player.
said, man, I got to get a Blu-ray. I really do. That's my
you
thing
could have
right
this
now. It's
movie
like
waiting for you.
I got to get a Blu-ray player. We got to get off the Sex and the City thing. Send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. You know, give us some perspective on this. I think John and I might have been a little weighted towards the male perspective, obviously, on this. So,
Just a little.
you know, slap us around, shape us up, tell us what you think, where we were wrong. You know, just
Yeah, or
school us on Sex and the City.
If you don't feel particularly violent, help us understand especially what I'm missing.
Help me
about
understand why Carrie Bradshaw
This. Help me
isn't so
help
shallow.
you.
You know.
She is.
Oh my God! You know,
Yeah.
well intentioned, but yammer.
All right. Which is something obviously we never do.
Definitely send us an email. Let us know what you think. I think we talked long enough about Sex and the City to close this one out for a single show.
I don't
so,
ever want to talk about it again.
Oh, it's going to happen, John.
Oh yeah.
It'll happen. Visit post-movie.net and check us out on Facebook, and definitely send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long.
Adios. Oh no, is that the theme song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Steve! I didn't know you watched it so much.
This was not your average like T-shirt and jeans crowd.
Average audiences
This
don't
was
go
this was
when the closet appears.
yeah this was the primary colored purses, the dresses, the high heels, the
And here I am
jewelry.
watching-
walking into the theater. I was like,
Well, you
Yeah.
mentioned the Irish nanny,
yeah.
Alice Eve.
And they had like the theme of Irish Spring or something
It
come
was
on
the
every
worst
time.
kind of crappy. She's,
But I
she's an
loved that-
Australian woman. She's got the worst freaking accent. They play this really cheesy Lucky
It
Charms
was
music.
that
but
was
then
like insulting to
boobs,
Irish, you know.
Giant boobs
Jugular
in
bouncing.
slow motion. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Oh, look, now they're wet. Giant boobs. Boom, 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 boom. And then she's going to do a hand wheel. Giant
That
boobs.
scene with the guys on the
And
golf course.
this is
was
all
pretty
like,
funny,
this
where
is
the camera
because men are
pans
going to
over
go,
the three guys.
whoa, boobs. I did, a little. But, you know, at the same time, an hour and a half later, they're at the pool in, you know, Abu Dhabi, and the Australian rugby team strips down to Speedos, and
Right.
it slow motion bulges, doing the same thing the boobs did. Which was just,
Okay.
which I was again attracted to for a second, but I realized I don't like rugby.
And they're all, by the way, none of them have their backs
No.
to the girls.
No.
They're all front forward.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the side of the swimming pool.